Hi, Amanda here with Crafting with Amanda. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to do a double page layout from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 5, Pattern 17. One of the ways that you can help some of the YouTube creators is not just by subscribing to their channel so you don't miss any content, but also by commenting and liking their videos, and that kind of gives YouTube a clue that these are things that you like and other people might like. So let's jump into this. This is an SVG file that I downloaded and uploaded into Cricut. And then I had pulled some of these photos from when we were downstate at friend's house in November of 2012. And then, like I said, this is going to be pattern 17 from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 5. I had spent one evening just going through some of my photos and pulling some layouts that I thought would work with the photo sizes that I had. And then when the pumpkin spice layout came out, or the paper pack, excuse me, I just knew that these all needed to work together. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I've already made a card, I think, for the Fun Fold Friday out of this collection. And so now I'm just looking at the papers and trying to pick what's going to work with the colors. The Jeep in the photo is red, and I know the colors in Pumpkin Spice are Paprika and Papaya, so not truly a red, but a nice fall color. So I'm just auditioning. I know that I'm going to want some mats for my photos, and I need to choose a base page. So I'm just auditioning different photos to see, or different photos, excuse me, different cardstock colors. So I have the Paprika that I have there on the right, and then I pulled out Harbour, and I did pull out Papaya, but that just didn't work for me. And I pulled out also the Shortbread, and that didn't work either. So now I'm trying Mink, which is one of the colors, or actually this is Pewter, excuse me. I did try Mink. That was, I think, what looked like the white sheet on my screen. So I pulled the Pewter, the Harbour, and then the Paprika as my base. And I'm showing you here that I have my finger taped up because we were working in the garage this weekend and I hurt my finger back in the end of June. And the nail is starting to come off. In fact, some of it has come off. We were working in the garage and it just got irritated. So I keep it wrapped up and then I can use my hand more. So I'm auditioning. I'm looking at the layout that's in front of me. You can kind of see a little bit of it. And trying to just place the different photos and decide which ones I want, which ones I don't want. These photos are not crisp and clear. They're a little fuzzy, but they still tell a great story, and you can still see the smiles and the joys in the boys' faces. So I'm just trying to decide what will work, and I don't know if you saw, but I turned some of the photos upside down over top of other ones just to kind of frame it to get an idea. And I'm cutting this down so it's now a 4x4, and I'm going to cut this one down even more. At first I was trying to keep the puppy dog in it, and I'm not sure if I kept Mary in it or not. That's the dog's name, and it looks like I did. So this again is, I want to say, a 3.5x4, and I'm just trying to highlight the activity that's happening in the photos. And I had thought about putting these down as a, kind of a cascade, because I've been using flip-flaps a lot lately, but I absolutely love flip-flaps. So spoiler, we use a flip-flap in this layout. And then these two photos of the boys on the slide, you wouldn't really necessarily need both of them, but in one of them, the boy in front, Nate, is just thrilled and huge smile, and then on the next one, AJ in the back is has the big smile, and I wanted to have both of those. So this layout, it's kind of cool. It has two triangle pieces on the bottom corners, or you can move them however you want, but I'm going to have them in the bottom corners. And then it has these two strips of paper kind of peeking out underneath them. So I'm cutting the polka dot for the one side and the stripe for the other side. And the patterns tell you exactly what dimensions to use. So in this particular case, I think it was 1 1/4 by 12, and then the other one was like 3/4 by 9 inches or something. But I didn't end up cutting the stripe paper down to size. So now I'm looking at my next paper that I want to use, and the boys both had sweaters on, so I thought this paper was perfect. But I'm trying to decide which is the best for cutting off the 3 inches, because I'm going to make a 9x9 square and then cut the diagonal on that. Before I cut the diagonal, I'm kind of going to audition it on the page, because the sweaters are all up and down, and so one of them they're going to be sideways and one of them they aren't. And I decide I actually want the up and down that of the sweaters on the left-hand page, because in the layout or the sample, it has less stuff over top of it. So more of that's going to show, where the one on the right-hand page ends up getting covered by journaling and that in the sample. So here I'm just rearranging some of the photos, and I found a zip strip and that I was kind of feeling it, so I was auditioning that. And then I wanted some white, and I wasn't sure if French vanilla or white daisy would work. Pumpkin Spice recommends or has white daisy in it, but with these photos in the background, I think it just needed that warmer French vanilla. So that's exactly what I did. And I've decided that I'm going to random stamp my background. So I was just drawing lines of where the papers will be on the corners, so that I know that I don't have to stamp all that. So these are stamps, brand new. Neither one of them has ever been used, from my stash. One is a stamp of the month from October of 2019, and one is Autumn Blessing D 1888. And I don't feel bad when I use some of my older stamps, because I feel like I'm getting more use out of them. And these are brand new, True Confessions. We moved in August of 2019 into a rental house, and so not all my craft supplies got unpacked. I still did place some orders. Oh, I'm showing you here in the new idea book is this wonderful stamp set called Perfectly Imperfect Patterns, and it has these blotches on it. And then I have my 1 in a million or thanks a million stamp that also has some of those blotches. So I'm just pulling those out for my random stamping. And here I'm not just doing random stamping, I'm also doing rock and roll. So on the Paprika on the page, it's hard to see right now, but I have Scarlet, Harbour, Mocha, and Evergreen are the 4 pads that are over on the right hand side. And for random stamping for me, I ink it up in the lightest color, which in this case isn't very light, but it's the Evergreen, or the Scarlet, excuse me, and then you kind of roll it or tap it into any of the other colors. And I'm just making sure to go off the edge of the page so it doesn't look like that I have framed in my paper, that it's just all looks like it's been random stamped. So I'm doing the same kind of thing here. Again, you can't see it in the camera as good, but in real life, these maple leaf veiny maple leaf pattern leaf, excuse me, how many times can I say leaf, is really red, and the other shows up more of the green. So here I am grabbing the acorn from the September stamp of the month, or October stamp of the month, and I'm doing that just in Mocha, because, acorns are brown. And I could go back in and fill these, color these in, but I just want it to be in the background and something fun. And in the photos, there's leaves all on the ground at a friend's house. And here I'm just using the Evergreen with this oak leaf stamp. And I like the fact that there's different sizes, but also different weights to the stamps. And what I mean is, on this oak leaf stamp that I just did, it's a heavier, thicker line, where the first 2 that I did had a thinner stamp line. And so they had a lighter image, let's call it, where now I'm going through with these thicker line stamps, starting with the acorn, and they show the colors more. And don't be afraid when you random stamp to cross over your images, have them touch, have them actually one overlap on the other, instead of giving all of them their own space. You can have some of them with their own space, but you want them to be connected and joined. So here I'm taking those 3 speckles, I'll call it, or it's called noise in the art world. So I'm putting some noise in my background by adding these speckles. And I'll show you here in a moment, I actually slow my process down, the difference that it makes of adding those splotches versus the first one that I did without them. It feels so much more, vibrant, I would call it, with the speckles, or at least I like it that way. So you just go and be random and have fun with it. I love random stamping. It's been a long time since I've done it. And as these inks dry, they'll also brighten in color. You can almost see it now on the camera. So here I grabbed the Scarlet shimmer brush and I squeezed it enough to get a drip started, but it didn't go fully so that it dropped on my sheet. But you'll notice that I was off to the side in case it did start to drip, but it didn't. And I'll slow the camera down here in a minute, or the video, excuse me, because you can kind of catch the shimmer that these sparkles give, the shimmer brushes, and in real life it just jumps off the page. So here we are. I have all the pieces from the right hand page, and I'm going to dry fit some of those and make sure that I have an idea of where it's going to go in. And this is how I make sure that things fit. I kind of will lay something down and then put the tape on it while I'm holding it in place. And it's one of those things that I felt like I was in a hurry today to get this done. But at the same time, I was excited to be scrapbooking these photos. Like I said, I found them a while ago and was excited to get them started. So now I'm cutting off that striped paper, and I'm going to use this on the background of the photo that's going to be on the inside of the flip flap as just a little banner. And I put the adhesive on the wrong side because the stripes is the back side to the polka dots, and I put the glue on the stripes, so when I turned it over, it was going to be polka dot on polka dot. So the one thing I like about adhesive runners is you just kind of roll it off with your finger. So trim off the side there, and then that page is ready for the photos to be put on it. And I did do some matting with the French vanilla, and when we get both pages together, just something to kind of to look at is the composition of the page, as far as there's a mat on the right hand page kind of in the lower right hand side, and then there's the same color mat in the upper left hand corner of that page. And when we get over to the other page, there'll be a white mat kind of in the center, I'll say, and then there's also some of that French vanilla white up in the upper corner by the title. So all of that is things that kind of help your eye move through your layouts. And it's just something to keep in mind. One of the reasons why I put the pumpkin and leaves behind the photo of Nate and the Jeep in the upper right corner was the same thing as it gives my eye from the left hand page. You'll see I have the other boy with the same paper print behind him, so it just kind of gives some balance. And everything doesn't have to be in threes to move your eye across the page. Odd numbers are good, or having a flow to some of your colors is great. But as far as having balance, you really just need to what's on the left page, what's on the right page, are they in balance? And especially since there's two big triangles on this, your balance is going to come typically in twos or maybe even fours. So just doing the left page the same that I did the right, I put it down and make sure that it's where I want it and how it's going to fit. Trim off the size, tuck that striped paper back underneath, try my photos. It's funny, I wasn't going to cut off that edge of the polka dot paper, but it was really distracting my eye, so that's why I went ahead and did that. And here is this pattern paper that I was telling you about that kind of balances what I did in the upper right corner of the right hand page. And here are the Harbour cardstock that I did as mats. And again, I pulled that same Harbour cardstock on the photo on the right hand page. I'm just trying to show you some of the composition things. When I put the November 2012 pumpkin title down, it got lost with the Paprika paper background because the pumpkins are cut in Paprika, and it's even more lost on the video. In real life, you can see it more now with the tags underneath it, but I just kind of wanted to give something, again, to draw your eye up there so that it didn't just fade into the background, that you could see that there were some pumpkins. So I had this punch leaf on my desk, and I thought I would try that. And sometimes a way to give something interest is to change the height of it and dimension. So that's exactly what I did, was I popped it up on some foam squares. And I did very much speed up the process of creating this layout because, like I said in the beginning, it's a longer video this time, but I wanted to give you the full process of it. These are old wooden trinket shapes that were in my stash, and I'm pulling out some arrows and that little chevron, and then I was looking at the new heart shapes, and I felt like with the arrows, the heart shapes were going to be too much. I knew that I had the wood grain pumpkins and leaves coming as well, so I just stuck with the arrows, and I'm just auditioning where I think they should go and how they're going to look on the page. Every once in a while, I strongly recommend just kind of going, take a minute and look at what you've created just to see what direction you want to go in next. You saw that I pulled those leaves from the layered flowers thin cut. Those leaves are in there, and I absolutely love them, and I cut them in so many different colors, but I just thought the leaves were too much. So now I'm going back to the sticker sheet, and this banner says sweater weather, and like I said, both kids had sweaters on, and where we were in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, we had snow on the ground when we left to come down for Thanksgiving weekend, so it was nice to just have sweaters on. And what I'm doing now is I'm looking at the stickers, and I'm just kind of auditioning different pieces. Normally, I recommend that you put your embellishments in clusters again to draw your eye across the page. There's so much busyness with the background of the sweater paper in either lower corner, and then the random stamping also adds some, lots of activity, lots of pattern, that I think if I would have had like big focused clusters of embellishments, it would have just been one more thing for my eye to kind of jump from. So I kept the title in the upper corner with the banners kind of as one. And what I'm showing you here is I have a punch that I use for doing some sentiment brackets, but if you don't have this punch or you like thin cuts, there's some in the main catalog that are in 2 different sizes that work great for that. But as I already have this punch, and I also have those same kind of shapes from the Art Philosophy cartridge on my Cricut, I don't have the thin cuts to show you. But that doesn't mean that they're a bad thing. They're just, I am using what I have. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do. Here's some other videos that you may be interested in. Thanks for stopping by. There's some detailed photos on my blog, craftingwithamanda.com, if you want to see more. Thanks.